So glad you're along with us with show after the show. We are getting to know the people that make this community so great. Ken George is one of those who live right in the upstate. Christian Educators Conference is coming up. He's a part of that. We'll be answering questions like, what does it look like to be a Christian educator? Can your mission flourish in an education setting? Which it can, and you'll learn more about that, especially at this conference coming up in May. But let's get to know Ken just a little bit better. From what I understand, Ken, you're from Chicago and Florida. You've did some traveling in your life.
I have, and I'm actually a halfback right now. So lived in Chicago till I was about 10, and then down to Florida, and then back here once I got married. So,
Yeah, which that was, I heard it was a unique way that you met your wife.
oh yeah, we were actually tour guides at SeaWorld, and so we met each other and got to know each other really well, and then here we are,
How,
30 some
how in
odd
the
years.
world did that happen? Your tour guides at SeaWorld, I mean, were you working the same shift? And you weren't like doing this together, were you, at the same time?
No, what it was is we would be on shifts, and so there were two shifts, and there was usually about 50 people on each shift. So oftentimes we'd work together, eat lunch together, those kind of things, or dinner, and then we just became good friends. And then from there, 30 years later, here we are married. So
It's so cool. And moved to Greenville right after that. I understand that you were the first Christian in your family.
I was, yes, and that was when I was 12 years old, and going to a Nazarene church, and then sister followed, then parents followed after that, and now I'm at a non-denominational church here in town. So
I hear there is a story between you and your sister. And is it tapioca pudding?
yeah, she made this tapioca pudding one time that she left out some ingredient, and so you could stick a tablespoon in the middle of it, and it would stand straight up, and you could turn the pot over, and it would stick in the pot. So
Get out. How- Now, how did it taste?
I don't know. I don't think we tried it.
Didn't
Um,
even want to touch that, huh?
no, I was afraid what it would do to my insides. So
Now you live in the upstate. You have a couple of boys, right? They're what, in their 20s?
yep, we have one 25 and 23. One's a chemical engineer here in town, and the other one is working towards being a missionary pilot. So
Oh, really?
yeah.
Tell me about the missionary pilot.
Well, he's actually down in Charleston with his cousins right now, working with a company or started a company called Building Brothers. And what they do is renovations. And so he's been doing that for the last few years while he's worked on all his mechanics license for airplanes. And he's going to Papua New Guinea this summer, COVID,
Hmm.
allowing. And so he'll be doing an internship there for pilot stuff. So
And your other son is a chemical engineer.
chemical engineering. Yeah, he went to Clemson, graduated from there, and works at Mitsubishi with
So
polymer.
he got his brains from your wife.
Absolutely.
I had a feeling that you would say that. So a part of your journey is directing the YMCA. Was that in Anderson?
No, actually here in Greenville at the Cleveland Street Y, but also as a camp director with the YMCA down in Florida and North Carolina and a couple other places. So yeah.
You're a part of Anderson University, great college, and
Yep.
in the education world, and
Correct.
helping a lot of teachers on top of that.
Yeah, and I've been in education for over 17 years now, and in Greenville County served as a special ed teacher as well as assistant principal and principal, and then went to Anderson University where I was training student teachers. So I'd be out in the school, observing them and giving them advice and getting them ready for the classroom and that kind of thing. And yeah, so really involved with the teachers there.
Yeah, and this is a passion of yours. I mean, I hear you have EDU Adventures, EDU Global, EDU All Education for Christ. How'd you get involved in this?
Well, it's actually when I was at Anderson University, I started a company called Book Bag Tours, which is now changed over names to BBT Adventures. And I was setting it up specifically for providing an opportunity for student teachers to go out and experience education around the world. And I ended up starting a business from that. And so we started with the first year, we had 10 people go to London. And then this year we had 265 people registered to go to 14 different countries. And so that's BBT Adventures, where we spend 3 days in the schools and learning from teachers, doing professional development, that kind of thing. And from there, though, I've actually started now EDU for Christ, which is our one that's specifically for Christians. And We do conferences for Christian teachers, whether they're public school, private school, college administrators, doesn't matter. Anybody involved in education. It could be somebody that works in maintenance or the cafeteria in the school. And we do conferences and mission trips for them around the world. And we're starting with our first conference in May, as you were kind of alluding to earlier, here in Greenville. And it'll be actually, we're working on the facility right now. We're about to lock that down, and which has been actually very challenging during COVID to try to
Mhm.
do that. But it'll also be live streamed and on demand as well.
Yeah, so if you are quarantined, you can still be a part of it, which is good. And that's in May, so it's a long time from the date that we're doing this together at the beginning of the year. Tell me a little bit more about the conference and what you're going to be helping teachers walk through in this conference.
Yeah, at the conference, it's really to equip and engage teachers to be more like Christ in the educational setting. Right now, a lot of teachers are afraid in the school of being a Christian because they don't understand the law and what it means. They don't want to get in trouble and those kind of things. And so, at each of our conferences, we always have a higher up, if you will, a superintendent or an assistant superintendent or something like that that is a Christian, understands the law. And so, there's always going to be a breakout session where people can deal with that um, and learn more about that. But then we also are addressing teen suicide prevention. We have some specialists that are in on that, and the real focus is just about love and just trying to teach them to love their kids, love their community. And we like one of the novel things we think we're doing in the conference is we're eventually going to be in multiple locations. And there's one session, it'll be the same speaker, main speaker for each session through video cast or whatever. And but then we'll also have one session that's at the same time for everybody, and that's a prayer time. And so during that prayer time, so if we have one in California, one in New Mexico, one in Chicago, they're all going to be praying at the same time and kind of be walked through a prayer to, pray for your students, pray for your families, pray for, and they'll kind of be walked through that so that you get the whole country, kind of hopefully praying for those things at the same time.
I'm glad that this is like a really wide net because when you think Christian educators, you think immediately Christian school. But
Right.
the fact of the matter is, you're helping anybody who's a Christian at a teacher at any type of location, whether it's Christian education or it's in the public school system. And it sounds like you can be a little bit more of a Christian in the public school than what some people think.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it really is. And it's so much of it comes down to knowing your students. And when you know your students, you know what you can and can't do based on them, where they come from, number one. But then number two, it's really just separated church and state. It's just not to proselytize. And it's a little bit more than that, but that's what our superintendent will go into and let folks know what that is so that they don't get in trouble, because we're, as a Christian, obviously that's not what we're there for.
Yeah.
But we are there to love our kids and their families and do whatever we can for them. So
Conference is coming up in May. I'm sure some registration is going to happen. When's the cutoff for the registration? And you probably have some tiers as well, where it's a one price now, and then after a certain date.
we do. I'd have to look them. I don't have my figures in front of me, but I believe we have an early registration fee where it's $30 to join. And I think it's by March 15th, I think, or something like that, that if you join after that, then it's $40. If you're in person, it includes lunch. We're going to actually do a barbecue, that kind of thing, good old Southern stuff.
Oh, that's nice.
And so the actual deadline will be coming around about May 15th would be the actual deadline.
Yeah, all the information, it's posted right here. We have a link to the site so that you can register as well. Ken, it was a joy being here with you today.
Thanks for having me, and I appreciate all you guys do.
Thank you very much. We'll see you again for another edition of Show After the Show.